go to the seat indicated by the number.
อ I remember